Before the wedding, the groom ran away, and I was forced to marry his younger brother. From behind the door, he shouted angrily, "Why should I marry someone my brother rejected?" His father tried to calm him down. "At least take a look first, will you? William is one of the most famous beauties in the alliance." James scoffed. "Even if he looked like a fairy, I still wouldn't marry him." I nodded and decided to leave, but as soon as I opened the door, I found myself staring into James's wide, stunned eyes. He cleared his throat awkwardly, a little shy. "Our parents arranged this match. I agreed to it voluntarily." 1. On the day of the wedding, Benjamin ran away. So, his parents made the decision to have his younger brother James marry me instead. Behind the door, James was loudly expressing his frustration. "Why should I marry someone my brother didn't want? Is he so desperate to get married that he has to cling to our family? No way. If I marry him, it's just like marrying on my brother's behalf. He's not my spouse. If you won't cancel the wedding, then just send him away." I could hear everything clearly from inside the room. To be honest, I could understand how he felt. After all, in the ABO world, everyone is ruled by pheromones, and because the compatibility between me and the two brothers hit a staggering 99%, the alliance bound me into this marriage. They said this number represented love at first sight potential, and it could supposedly produce the best possible offspring. But Benjamin didn't believe in any of that, nor did he want to be controlled by the alliance. He ran away from the wedding for an online lover he'd never even met in person. So, the engagement was passed on to James. "Don't be so quick to decide. Why not take a look at him first?" His dad tried patiently to reason with him. "William is a well-known beauty in the alliance. During his pheromone evaluation, you wouldn't believe how many people were watching. It took me a lot of effort to snatch him as my daughter-in-law. You'd be a fool not to appreciate it." Hearing that, James angrily yanked on his dad's beard. "I don't care how you got him. Just call off the wedding. Even if he looked like a god, I still wouldn't want him. What era are we living in? Still making decisions based on pheromones? I refuse to be bound by these outdated ideas. Give it up. I absolutely will not marry him." James had a loud voice, and he wasn't gentle about pulling that beard either. His dad, furious, yanked his beard back and gave James a kick. "Fine, you're marrying him in your brother's place." James stumbled from the kick and was finally caught by his mom. "Fine, old man, but don't go back on your word. I'm saying this again, this is my brother's marriage, not mine. That makes him my sister-in-law. He's got nothing to do with me." His tone and attitude were so infuriating that his dad almost kicked him again, but his mom stepped in just in time. "If he doesn't want to marry, then don't make him. It was supposed to be for your eldest son anyway. Why pressure James?" "Boo-hoo, Mom, you're the best. I'll find you a perfect daughter-in-law. I swear, she'll give you 7 or 8 grandbabies to make you proud." As for the grumpy old man, he's not getting a single one to play with. James hid behind his mother and taunted him. I was finding it hard to keep listening. According to the alliance's rules, if the selected pair didn't want to marry after a month-long adjustment period, they could apply to cancel the marriage. Since he clearly didn't want this, I didn't want to force it either. I figured I might as well clear things up with them. But as soon as I opened the door, I was met with a pair of glimmering, almond-shaped eyes. He happened to glance over casually, but the moment his gaze landed on my face, he froze. "Dad, this is the spouse you picked for me, too." He looked so excited, eyes sparkling with anticipation. It was honestly a bit scary. "No," his dad replied with a snort, clearly annoyed. "Didn't you just say you didn't want to get married? That you didn't want to be shackled by old-fashioned thinking? Don't expect me to decide for you now." As soon as those words landed, the delight on James's face instantly disappeared. He stared at his dad with puppy dog eyes. He looked so disappointed, like he couldn't believe his own father had failed to secure someone like this. It was as if he were silently accusing, "You're such a failure. Dad, how could you let someone like that slip away?" Fuming, his father's beard trembled as he shouted, "You brats have no taste at all. How could I not know what kind of person you'd like? I'm your father. I carefully chose this spouse for your brother, and he didn't even bother to take one look before ditching the wedding. He'll regret it one day." His dad was clearly furious. "You're all wasting my effort and good intentions." While his father was still ranting, James kept sneaking glances at me. Every time I caught his eye, he'd quickly look away. I could only see the tips of his ears turning red. A moment later, he snuck another peek, and when he heard that I had been chosen for his brother, his eyes lit up. "So, you were supposed to be my brother's spouse, and now he's run off," which means, whatever thought just hit him. James's face suddenly turned beet red. His gaze darted away like he'd just been burned and didn't dare look at me again. His parents noticed the strange look on his face and stared at him suspiciously. His cheeks were flushing hotter and hotter, and those moist peach blossom eyes were glowing. "What's going on? Are you going into heat?" James shot his dad a death glare in response. "Dad, Can you maybe care a little more about my image? I didn't pay too much attention to their weird exchange. I was about to take my leave. Back when the alpha selection was being done, there were several candidates with compatibility scores in the 80% range, but the two brothers' scores were just too high. And with that online romance I had with Benjamin, I never thought he'd go as far as ditching the wedding just to escape the alliance's control. He hadn't even said a word to me about it. Since things had turned out this way, there was no point in forcing anything. After exchanging a few polite words, I told his parents I wanted to cancel the marriage, but before his dad could respond, James, who had been hiding in the background this whole time, suddenly panicked. My brother's out, that's his choice, but I'm still here, aren't I? Our compatibility is 99% too. Realizing how desperate he sounded, and with everyone now staring at him, James turned red again, cleared his throat, and tried to cover it up. I mean, it's not like I want to marry you or anything, it's just that the alliance has its rules, and since you were picked by my dad to be the family's daughter-in-law, I'm just being filial, that's all. Filial. I don't want my parents to worry or go through more trouble because of me. It was like he'd found the perfect excuse. His eyes were sparkling again, proud and full of confidence. When the older brother dies, the younger brother marries the widow, an ancient and honorable tradition. I've always been a filial son who listens to my dad. I'd never go against him. You little brat, how dare you curse your brother? James, getting more and more carried away, got kicked by his dad, but this time he was quick. He dodged it easily. He kept running, still mouthing off. Dad, my brother ditched the wedding. Just pretend he doesn't exist and leave the inheritance to me. When I get married, I'll take care of you with William. His dad was so mad he took off his shoe and threw it at him. James kept dodging. Dad, when you pick a son-in-law, you shouldn't just look at the match. You need to look at your own son too. My brother's irresponsible, spineless, he even bailed on his wedding. What kind of Omega would want to marry a guy like that? Not like me. I'm obedient and respectful. And let's be honest, with how good William looks, my brother couldn't handle him anyway. I'll take the hit for the team. I'm volunteering. Another shoe flew his way. Now you're throwing shade at your brother? Their shouting echoed through the wind as father chased son around. His mom stood there, a little embarrassed. The same son who'd just been ranting against arranged marriages and outdated thinking, acting like he'd died before giving in, suddenly flipped the script the moment he laid eyes on William. She honestly couldn't bear to look. William, maybe you should reconsider. My younger son's not so bad, she offered gently. He's a little immature and hot-headed. Yes, but when he likes someone, he's fiercely loyal and kind. He's single-minded and devoted. I listened, my eyes flickering with thought. She wasn't wrong. In the ABO world, that kind of loyalty from an alpha was rare. Alphas as a group were notoriously fickle, many were emotionally reckless, often juggling multiple omegas at once. Some ignored their partners entirely during heat. Some even passed their bonded mates to others like they were property. And once an omega was marked and married, they were basically handing over their life. Since I had no choice but to marry, might as well choose someone who's beautiful but a bit dumb, easier to handle. I glanced at the two of them, father and son, now slowing their chase and clearly eavesdropping. It was kind of funny. I remembered the league's rule, 1-month trial period. Alright then, let's treat this month as an evaluation period. As for Benjamin, James's brother and my supposed online boyfriend, I was genuinely curious what kind of face he'd make when the time came. The moment I nodded, James let out a shout of delight. His dad scowled. And who was it that said he was only marrying for his brother? James threw his arm around his father's shoulders like they were old pals. My brother, he deserves someone better than William. William's just the best there is. Then he leapt over to me in one big hop, dragged me into the room, and shut the door, leaving his parents outside. Once we were inside, James still hadn't let go of my hand. If anything, he was now slowly realizing what he'd done and starting to blush. He was half a head taller than me, looking down seriously, eyes locked on mine. I let him look. Suddenly, a sweet scent, like milk candy, started to fill the room. It was rich and sugary. As I was trying to pinpoint where it was coming from, James suddenly let go of my hand like he'd been burned. He turned his face away in frustration and embarrassment. It reminded me of something, back when I was chatting with that account online, the one I thought I was dating. Sometimes, it didn't feel like I was talking to just one person. The league's official online game used intelligent avatars. You could upload your real face data or customize one from scratch. It felt like another world. Once permissions were granted, it was as close to face-to-face communication as you could get. And occasionally, I'd smell that same milk candy scent. Every time it appeared, the person on the other end would start acting all flustered, like a kid caught stealing cookies, sneaking glances at a grown-up, scared of being found out but unable to confess. That's when I used to tease him on purpose. I'd get close during dungeons, hold his hand when turning in quests, and he'd go stiff and tense. That handsome, data-generated face would flush red, ears burning. Still, he'd try to act tough. You omegas shouldn't be getting so close to alphas, it's dangerous. Oh? I'd follow his gaze and smile, staring him straight in the eye. And what exactly is dangerous? He wouldn't answer, just stared back at me like I was the only thing he could see. And that sweet scent in the air, it got even stronger. It made me want to laugh. So his face turned even redder. Stop laughing. Worried I'd push him too far, I stopped teasing and focused on the dungeon. After that, I started smelling that milk candy scent more and more often. And he began talking trash about himself, using his avatar like a mask. Alphas? They're all trash. You should stay far away from them. I rested my chin on my hand and looked at him. So I should stay away from you too? He went quiet, clearly conflicted. Then, as if he'd made up his mind. Yeah, you should. I'm no good either. You should steer clear of me. I drink. I smoke. I've dated tons of omegas. I dump them in 3 days. Tops. Doesn't even faze me. I'm hollow inside. I can't make anyone happy. I'm irresponsible and unreliable. I'm the last kind of person you should trust with your future. He got more and more into it, like he wasn't even talking about himself. Noticing the strange look on my face, he scratched his head, cheeks flushing again. He looked away and gave a nervous cough. Don't look at me like that. I'll introduce you to a real alpha sometime. He's kind and gentle, loyal and pure-hearted. He's got 8-pack abs, doesn't favor other alphas, respects omegas, lives clean. My look grew even weirder. Finally, I couldn't hold it back anymore. I asked, are you suggesting I cheat? His face turned beet red. He looked like he'd choked on something and started coughing uncontrollably. His eyes welled up, and he gave me this pitiful little glare. Online dating doesn't count as cheating. The one who's not loved, that's the side piece. I was so thrown by his logic I ignored him for days, until that account started acting normal again, like how it had been when we first met. Gentle, thoughtful, the way he looked at me didn't seem unusual anymore. Then one day, a new disciple appeared under my in-game account. It wasn't until a long time later that I learned James had burned through hundreds of accounts and spent real money to custom build one that'd get paired with me. I'd thought it was just a random system assignment. The little disciple was strange, clumsy and silly, but clingy and jealous. When Benjamin was around, he'd act all fake sweet and passive-aggressive. This bunny monster is so cute, how can you bear to kill it? Big brother, you're so cruel. When Benjamin wasn't around, he trashed everyone else. Look how dumb they are, can't even kill a bunny. Useless. Never date someone like that. Later on, a teammate we matched with added me as a friend. The little disciple stabbed him through with a single sword strike. As I watched the in-game avatar slowly collapse, I stared at him in disbelief, but the little disciple beat me to it, already looking aggrieved. That guy was trying to be your side piece. Shameless. Master already has a CP, he wants to be your secret man on the side. Someone's flirting with you. Aren't you gonna do something? Big brother, what kind of main partner just stands by? If you can't do it, make room. And while he was saying that, the milk candy scent around him got stronger and stronger. William, you're not still thinking about my brother, are you? The memory came flooding back. James carefully tugged on the corner of my shirt, his eyes full of sorrow. You can't. He already ran away from the wedding. And he's irresponsible. No backbone. Drinks and smokes behind people's backs. I quietly listened to these words, so similar to what I'd heard in the game, and couldn't help but smile a little. Their family reputation was well known throughout the league. The Omegas married into the family were famous for their happiness, precisely because there weren't all those messy ABO complications. So James's trash talk couldn't be entirely true. Besides, from how I'd interacted with his brother, Benjamin was genuinely good-natured. Why not pick me instead? James's voice was low, his beautiful, clear eyes looking up at me expectantly. I have to admit, both brothers were incredibly handsome, top-tier looks all around. Unlike Omegas, who spent most of their youth in league schools and rarely saw outsiders, Alphas grew up under constant public scrutiny, with families always comparing each other. These two brothers were among the best of the best. Looking at such striking features and slightly reddened eyes glistening with moisture, I couldn't resist teasing him. I slowly leaned closer, my gaze serious. Pick you? Do you even know what to do on the wedding night? James froze for a moment, then his cheeks flamed bright red. He lowered his head, avoiding my gaze. Despite being a half-head taller and naturally more dominant, this alpha looked as flustered as a big scared dog. His Adam's apple bobbed nervously, and all I could see were his bright red ear tips. I wasn't letting him off so easily. Have you tried? TR tried. What? I raised an eyebrow, not sure if he was playing innocent or genuinely clueless, but those clear eyes didn't look like he was lying. Satisfied, I said, go take a shower. James obediently blushed, grabbed his clothes, and headed for the bathroom. At the door, he suddenly seemed to remember something, stumbling over his words. So, will you be responsible for me? I mean, you'll be my wife after all, so don't think about my brother anymore. I smiled but didn't answer, just tossed a pillow at him. Go wash up. I couldn't make him a promise. After all, there was still a month-long trial period. Besides, as long as no marking happened, who could say anyone was losing out no matter what? Because even if you hired male models, you couldn't find quality like theirs anywhere. They were S-tier alphas, top-notch in every way, especially mentally. While waiting, the sweet milk candy scent drifted from the bathroom. I wasn't sure if it was James's natural pheromone or his body wash. That sweetness was hardly alpha-like. It reminded me more of a pampered, delicate Omega. Thinking of his family background, an old aristocratic line, a general for a father, and a brother at the League's military academy, he probably had little to worry about. So a sweet pheromone made sense. Suddenly, the holoscreen on the desk lit up. I glanced casually but froze when I saw it was a chat log between James and Benjamin. It kept updating in real time. I glanced toward the quiet bathroom, then back at the screen. Benjamin, how's things at home? Has that Omega left yet? James, not yet. Bro, you really made the right call running away. I saw William today, just average, really average, won't even kiss me first. Way too cold, you can't handle him. And don't come back anytime soon. Don't contact mom and dad. Whatever you need, tell your little brother. I'll support you chasing true love. Running from that wedding was the best decision ever. Bro, I got your back. We'll fight against arranged marriages and outdated, rotten traditions together. Then James sent his brother a transfer. The string of zeros was enough to fund his escape to the ends of the earth. Benjamin, confused but touched. Good little brother, you've suffered. Try talking to mom and dad again. When I find your wife, I'll bring her back. Let mom and dad see my true love. Isn't she 1,000 times better than that Omega they keep obsessing over? James was shameless. We're brothers. Don't worry. I got your back. Go find your love in peace. The conversation stopped there. Benjamin was still typing, unsure about what to say next. Water ran in the bathroom, and James hummed happily. He sounded in a great mood. Benjamin sent another message. No idea why, but my wife blocked me 2 hours ago. Did she hear about the wedding and get mad? Yeah, my bad for not explaining it to her first. How should I apologize? At that, I pulled out my phone. The familiar avatar in my memory was identical to Benjamin's, and now he was on my block list. James bounced out of the bathroom with sparkling eyes, a shy but hopeful light in them, like a freshly baked sweet dessert, prettily decorated, and asking, "Why haven't you come to eat me yet?" I raised an eyebrow, stood up, and turned around. Am I really that average? James froze. What? I squinted, then asked again. Am I really that average? He seemed to remember something, glanced awkwardly at the holoscreen, looking a bit guilty but trying to be tough. He said, well, yeah, you're kind of average, only I'm willing. Before he finished, I sneered and turned away. When it comes to feelings, I believe in saying what you mean. No beating around the bush, no playing coy, and definitely not ghosting like Benjamin running from a wedding. That's not my style. But someone like James, who's open sometimes, that's a little playful charm I can accept. Now it was just the two of us, and if he kept talking like that, I wasn't going to coddle him. I'd barely taken 2 steps when I heard a sudden thud behind me. My legs were suddenly wrapped up and lifted off the ground. Don't go. James's voice trembled with panic and desperation. I'm not stupid when it comes to feelings. After 3 months online, only these 2 brothers hadn't guessed who I really was, but I'd long figured out James liked me, so I turned back, face cold, looking down at James kneeling before me, his delicate, fragile face, his glistening peach blossom eyes, like a scared little dog afraid of being abandoned. I softened a little. James seemed startled by his own bold move, staring blankly at me. Then his expression shifted to one of grievance. You chose my brothers so many times. I was just scared. I took a deep breath. Scared of what? James glanced at me, looking like it was hard to say. His cheeks flushed pink, with his pale skin. When shy, he turned almost rosy and looked very squeezable. I was afraid that when my brother came back, you'd stop wanting me. For a moment, I was a little stunned. Then I heard James's wistful tone. It really sounded like a lonely husband in some old drama. But I'd never been chosen like this before. Never seen anyone get so anxious over me in front of others. My heart fluttered. I crouched down to meet his eyes. Leaning in slowly, I pinched his chin. My voice soft and teasing without realizing it. If you want me to choose you, what should you say? My lips were so close to his, almost baiting him to say exactly what I wanted to hear. James didn't answer, eyes fixed on my lips. Those beautiful peach blossom eyes looked a little lost. so I pinched his chin again. Say it, what's your true feeling? James pressed his lips together. I really hate being forced to do anything, but if that person is you, I'd willingly surrender. That night, I still kicked James out of the room. I felt he needed more discipline. I took a few days off from my wedding leave. Unbeknownst to me, the whole league school had exploded with rumors. After my self-test showed a 99% match with those two brothers, many Omegas envied me, but they only dared to whisper behind my back. On the surface, they all acted respectful and eager to please. Yet on the wedding day, news spread that the eldest son had run away from the wedding. Even the second son looked down on me, as if he wanted to chase me away with a broom. And so, I became the joke of the school. At first, they only whispered in secret, but since I stopped attending classes, they grew bolder. I thought William would soar, but what a disgrace. What good is a match? They have power and status. What Omegas haven't they seen? He always has that cold face, acting all high and mighty, thinking the whole world likes him. Well, now that he's stuck with no one wants him. He hasn't been back for 3 days. He's probably embarrassed and won't show his face. I say, looks don't mean much for Omegas. You have to be gentle and caring, so your alpha doesn't stray. William looks like a fox spirit, definitely not someone decent. Lucas kept ranting, convinced he was telling the truth. He spread baseless rumors, not noticing the classmates around him stepping back, distancing themselves from him. The air turned tense, and only Lucas's louder and louder slanders filled the room. When he realized something was wrong and turned around, there I was, arms crossed, standing beside him with a smile. You look like a QR code. No one knows what you are until scanned. Done saying everything you wanted? Lucas said nothing, glaring at me. He swallowed hard and stood up from his seat. The next moment, my fist smashed into his proud face. While I was fighting at school, James stayed home obediently. Dad, hand over the household registration book. I want to go apply for the marriage certificate with my wife. Dad said nothing, just motioned for James to pour him some tea. Only when his son respectfully served him did he glance at James with calm eyes. The marriage application still lists William and your brother. You need both present to handle it. James frowned. Aren't you his father? Can't you handle it? When we applied last time, no one needed to be there. I don't care. You have to get it done. She's my wife. Why does she have to be on the same application as my brother? You're biased. Dad had a headache from James's yelling. We asked you before. You said no, so we registered your brother. Now you blame me. I can't do it. Wait for your brother to come back. Besides, he doesn't want to marry anyway. Just say you're willing and call him back. James wanted to speak but held back. He couldn't say he'd been trying to steal his brother's place for 3 months. There was no way he'd let his brother return now. While he was struggling, a message from Benjamin popped up. James, I found the school your wife goes to. I'm nearby now. Want to buy flowers for when she finishes class. Should I get red roses or pink roses? Which looks better? What should I say when I meet her? Feeling nervous. My heart's pounding fast. Some people just can't stop worrying. Bro, red and pink are too common. They don't show your sincerity. Buy yellow. It means apology and misunderstanding. More importantly, yellow roses symbolize friendship. A subtle way to tell William, they're just friends. Thinking of this, James couldn't help but smile secretly, but he wouldn't sit still waiting. His rival had found his wife's school. How could he stay calm? He dropped the teacup and rushed to the big mirror to check himself over. He touched up his already perfect face, preparing to go to school and block his brother's attempt to win her back. I tangled with Lucas. Strictly speaking, I was the one pinning Lucas down. Though an Omega, I wasn't weak. In a class full of Omegas, I was the strongest. No one dared to intervene. They just went to find the homeroom teacher. When he arrived, I was sitting on a chair. Lucas lay face down on the floor, my foot pressed on his face. But to my surprise, the usually fair homeroom teacher immediately scolded me without hearing either side. William, you've been dumped, and you still don't know how to control your temper. Reflect on yourself. You're not acting like an Omega should. That's a disgrace in teaching history. Do you think you're still the sought-after S-tier Omega? Both young masters refuse you. So clearly there's something wrong with your character. You can't compare to Lucas now. Though he's only A-tier, he's well-behaved and never gets into online romances. I told you before, reputation is everything for an Omega. Your reputation is rotten in the upper circles now. If you won't listen to me, I won't keep you here. You're an adult now. You can drop out on your own. The teacher kicked my foot aside and helped Lucas up, whose nose was bruised and swollen from my punch. I heard Lucas had a decent match. Unlike me, I was already discarded in his eyes. But facing the teacher's scolding and threat of expulsion, I kept calm and asked again, Teacher, are you sure you want to expel an S-tier Omega based on rumors spread by Lucas? The teacher frowned, clearly annoyed. With your reputation, You probably don't want to study here anyway. Stop being a nuisance. I don't want to use special measures. It would be embarrassing for everyone. Oh, you don't want me to. I smiled and pulled out my phone to call the Omega Protection Association. In that case, I will. This place isn't like some association. Because Omegas are rare and precious. They are centralized in league-affiliated schools from a young age. It's a combined place for protection and education. My school is on the main planet, not only powerful but also has law enforcement authority. The uniformed officers arrived quickly. Since everyone here is Omega, the officers were polite. After a routine round of questions, their eyes settled on me. William, according to witnesses, you attacked Lucas without cause as soon as you arrived. May I ask the reason? I was stunned. That's what they all say. Yes, these are statements from your classmates and teachers. The officers showed me the records. I pursed my lips and looked over at those classmates. Faces that were once kind and friendly now stabbed me in the back without hesitation. They avoided my gaze, feeling guilty, but I wasn't about to let it go, pointing at the records. Then I'll sue them all too. There's truth in what the homeroom teacher said. An Omega's reputation is crucial. It affects their lifelong happiness. Because when alphas choose mates, besides status and fertility, they also value character and morals. The higher the status, the more picky they are. So slandering an Omega is a serious crime. Slandering a high-tier one is even more so. No one wants a stain on their name. This immediately triggered backlash from the classmates. William, you caused this yourself. Why can't we speak the truth? What did Lucas do wrong? You started it. Don't think just because you're high-tier will go easy on you. I listened quietly, not upset by their infighting. After all, those not envied are mediocre. I just felt really annoyed. Meanwhile, the homeroom teacher stood nearby, smug and sneering, as if watching a show. Ignoring them, I took off the badge on my chest and handed it to the officers under everyone's sharp stares. Before I could speak, Lucas jumped out. William, are you trying to bribe them? His logic left me speechless. Who bribes openly? Sorry, my memory's bad. I like recording important things to avoid forgetting. So this is the evidence. As soon as I spoke, the classroom fell silent. Lucas's face turned red, and he tried to argue. Why do you say what I said is slander? The eldest son who's engaged to you ran off. The second son hasn't even met you and already wants to break the engagement. That's common knowledge up high. Who thinks everyone cares about your face? Who's so shallow? You deserve to be kicked out. There are plenty of unmarried Omegas here who don't want to be in the same school as you, to protect their reputation. But Lucas dared not repeat his claim that I was dumped and worthless anymore, because that was a blatant lie and defamation. With the officers present, he only dared speak known facts quietly. When our eyes met, Lucas immediately hid behind the teacher, clearly scared of me. He spoke softly. Do you still think you're the untouchable top Omega? Who said William was kicked out? Suddenly, a figure appeared at the classroom door, strong and upright. His brows and eyes were exceptionally handsome, with charming peach blossom eyes curling upward at the corners, even more refined and beautiful than an Omega. The entire class froze on seeing him, not just because outsiders rarely appeared, but because James was truly stunning. There was only one word for him, beautiful. No wonder the whole league said the Omega who married in was the happiest. Seeing this face daily could make anyone smile in their dreams. The whole class looked at me with envy, noticing all the stares. I met their gazes one by one. Well, both husbands were total lookers. Lucas was the first to react to James's handsomeness. His face hurt too much from the injuries, plus James's presence stirred jealousy to his core. You don't need to cover for him. We all know William is unfaithful, messing around online with AO relationships. He has 2 partners already. Lucas ranted indignantly, oblivious to James's quietly pleased expression. Do you really think those 2 online are both his partners? Lucas was clueless. Of course. William moves seamlessly from one alpha to another. One alpha leaves, and the other immediately clings on. How is that not 2 partners? James's ears turned red at this. He cleared his throat, fluttered his lashes, and muttered softly. So obvious back then. Ha! After Lucas finished snitching, he taunted me with a grin despite his bruised mouth. He stepped up and mocked. William, let's see how arrogant you still are. I don't believe the second young master can tolerate your 2-timing. I said nothing, looking at him as if he were a fool. At that moment, the officers with the record book approached. I have some questions that require your cooperation. James was in a good mood and behaved well with the officers. What? My brother ran from the wedding? He knew his place, not worthy of William. Introducing, William, my wife. James proudly looked around like a popular meme once did. Who says I don't want to marry him? Marriage is great. I want to cling to my wife every day. You say I'm shallow for liking his looks? Then tell me, would you marry a man with crooked eyes and a flat nose? A handsome guy standing next to an ugly one? Don't you know how to choose? Dumped and kicked out. James's face flushed pink, being fair-skinned. His face and neck turned rosy. Play? What play? When? Lying down, kneeling, sprawling out, bedroom, bathroom, balcony, open-air hot springs. I'll cooperate anywhere. James blushed, excited. Only Lucas couldn't believe it. You don't mind? James looked puzzled. What business is it of yours if my wife and I are in love? Get a life. So, the truth became clear. Lucas, the main culprit, was arrested awaiting judgment. The homeroom teacher was stripped of teaching qualifications after the league school found out about his misconduct and was banned from rehiring. Those who followed and gave false testimony faced penalties or expulsion depending on severity. And I became the school's famous Omega, known for playing the game well. Following James out of the campus, he looked around like a scout, eyes darting left and right, as if expecting trouble. Then suddenly, someone kneeled down holding 999 yellow roses. I instinctively moved aside, but the bouquet shifted with me. Clearly, it was meant for me, yet I couldn't recall any friend needing such a grand gesture. I glanced at James and saw a strange smile tugging at his lips, but soon that smile faded, because the man holding the flowers directly proposed. Darling, marry me. He looked up affectionately, locking eyes with James's darkening expression. James stepped in front of me, wearing a forced smile. Bro, how can you propose to your sister-in-law? Benjamin was stunned. He glanced at James, then at me, who was standing behind James, confused about the situation. But James didn't need my explanation. He eagerly spoke up himself. Are you dizzy in the head? Do you know how it felt when you ran off and left the engagement on me? Just like how you feel now. Then, worried I'd get angry, James turned and gave me a flattering smile. Of course, I'm not dissatisfied with my wife. I'm very happy with this marriage. Then he raised his voice seriously at Benjamin. But I despise your behavior. How can you promise and then run off on the wedding day? Who do you think you are? Benjamin retorted. No, I only just. James ignored him, waving him aside to whisper. Though I couldn't hear clearly, I caught phrases like, please, just this once, promise not to hurt yourself, mutual feelings, really, no lies. Benjamin was furious. That's my CP and my fiancé. Seeing it was hopeless, James gave up. Fine, I don't care, whoever grabs her is hers. Then they started fighting. When I told Dad what happened, he looked gleefully amused. Mom was busy tending to both sons' wounds, one after another. After each treatment, they all turned their backs, not looking at each other, still sulking. Dad stroked his beard slowly, saying, back then, everyone was unhappy with the brides I picked. Now look, they're fighting. So embarrassing. I stayed silent, playing on my phone. Suddenly, I felt a burning gaze on me. Looking up, it was Benjamin. His eyes were complicated, fondness, resentment, and grievance. His look made it seem like I was the faithless one who ran off, 7 or 8 times. No less. I laughed angrily, just as I was about to say something. Another gaze caught my eye. Turning, I saw James staring at me with his beautiful peach blossom eyes, looking wronged. Then he suddenly turned his head away in a sulk. From my angle, his eyes seemed watery. I froze, put away my phone, and walked over to him, asking, what's wrong? James ignored me, so I sat beside him, cupping his face and looking straight into his eyes. Hey, little sugar, mad at me? James couldn't avoid me anymore. His long lashes were damp, even the corners of his eyes were red. His voice was low, just loud enough for us to hear, complaining. When my brother came back, you really didn't want me anymore. His tone was pitiful, as if accusing me of the inevitable. He was really beautiful, raised spoiled, pampered since childhood, the little young master who never suffered hardship. His biggest worry was having too much pocket money, buying spaceships and throwing them into water until his hands got sore but never running out of money. This proud and capricious young master softened only for me, worried and insecure, lowering himself just for me. Anyone who saw him like this would melt with pity. I gently ruffled his hair, feeling tender. Dad patiently tried to mediate. James was satisfied, happily leaning into my arms. I didn't notice the deliberate, provocative glance he sent Benjamin, which made Benjamin so furious he felt like spitting blood. He'd had enough of this troublesome younger brother. Benjamin stayed home for half a month. After cooperating to change the marriage application documents, he got irritated daily by his younger brother. Finally, out of sight, out of mind, he returned to military school. One night, suddenly, James messaged, bro, my wife hit me. Benjamin, always protective, was immediately worried. What happened? Where did he hit you? James replied quickly, nothing much, just slapped me and kicked me off the bed. Benjamin was enraged. How could he? Before he finished, James sent another message. I was just gone a little too long. He sleeps his way. I do my thing, but he refuses. Slapping me felt kinda nice. Hee. Benjamin frowned, thinking, is this brother dumb? How did he get trained like a dog? He still can't hit you. James answered even faster, bro, you don't get it. If he dares hit me today, tomorrow he'll fight for me. Being with him, my future's definitely bright. Hee. Benjamin suddenly realized where he lost.